We're not talking about this, ruling out anything personal or interesting.
Right. We're not talking about jail or rehab.
All right.
Come on, you guys.
Go ahead.
All right, I got a question about something you said in the film. You said something about like how you never think about what the song's about. You're like, oh, I never thought about what that song was about. So I was curious, do you just like tune into your subconscious and let the words flow? I was just
I don't
wondering
know.
what the
I don't
songwriting
remember.
process.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what I didn't watch the film. I don't know what I said,
You
but
said that?
yeah, but no, we certainly do think very hard about everything when we're writing songs. I guess that there on some level that you never really get to take a step back and get a picture of what you're doing as it would seem to an outside, or And I think there's also, I mean, probably John and I both resist the idea of over-interpreting stuff that we're doing. I think it's pleasing to have something that you feel like makes a nice impression as a song. Like it's an exciting idea, and then you don't want to question it too much while you're in the process of writing it, because you can kind of ruin the process that way. So, I mean, I'm guessing that's what I meant, but if it wasn't what I meant, I'm just going to say that. It's another interesting thing to say.
What about him? Does he do the same thing?
I think, that it's, we're in like the pop music idiom because that's like that's what sort of best describes the style of what we do. But I think in some ways it sort of gives the, when you are writing like a popular song, there are a lot of assumptions people make about like how your responsibility to an audience and how it should properly land. There's a general perception that like we are we're very friendly to our audience and are thinking about our audience and what we do, and oftentimes when you read articles about things based around dial-a-song and stuff, there's a notion that we're calculating what we're doing about how it's going to land in the public sphere, and when actually for us it's much more personal than that. And I think the sort of the political, cultural side of being in a rock band has always been a big stretch for us. It's been just hard enough for us to actually just address the ideas in a song that work for us in this sort of, I mean, we've totally painted ourselves into a corner as writers because we're so, and I speak for John as well, we're so snobby about so many things. I mean, like, as teenagers, we just hated on everything so hard, and and just had such contempt for so many different things in the popular culture. And if it wasn't for like the positive, groovy vibrations of punk rock and new wave, I don't think we would ever even figured out a way to be in a rock band that would really make sense to us. So I guess that's a very long way of saying I think when we start thinking about audiences when we're writing, it actually makes us too self-conscious, and it kind of gets away from, all of a sudden you're aware that it's a very public thing and what you're doing is going to have to be acceptable and understood, rather than just doing like the most imaginative thing you can think of doing.
Right. It ruins the intimacy of the writing if you're worrying about what everybody's going to think.
Yeah. So.
This is not a question, it's more of a comment. It's probably feedback that you wouldn't otherwise get. We have an 18-year-old son, and he was born in 1990, and my husband turned me on to you guys, and he grew up listening to your music. And it was like so liberating for him because he has the same sensibilities as you do, in the sense that he's now a musician and a writer. And but he's very eclectic, like he's a sponge. Everything in the world that he experiences ends up in his music or in his playwriting. And in fact, he won an national award, so he's on a good track. But the point is that there's nobody else out there who thinks like he does except you. And I don't know, maybe you influence the way he thinks because he was born and raised on your music. But it was a gift to give him someone who validated that kind of, eclecticism and weirdness. And he turned all of us on to James Ensor, which I'm ashamed to say, since my father was Belgian, I had never heard of until that song. And then
Right. Yeah,
Everything.
yeah.
That's
Well,
nice. Well, I guess he's on the money now, right?
yeah, he is on there. I mean, in Belgium, he's famous in Belgium.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks.
That's good. Yeah. Well, I guess that, everybody has an experience when they're, it's amazing how many people at a certain age feel like they're the only ones who are alienated, whereas in fact everyone in their high school feels the same way, more or less. But people often find some cultural thing to latch onto that is kind of the emblem of their, their outsiderness, and it can be. It's amazing the range of things that can provide.
Right.
So we had those. We absolutely had a long list of things that I think John and I each, and they weren't the same things necessarily, but we both latched on to stuff that we thought was like, that's the only person who understands me, or they understand me, they know me. Of course, I wasn't.
Did you start playing music like right after high school? I mean, did you go to college or not? Skip it, or what did you do?
John and I went to the same high school. I think that must have been mentioned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we both started doing music in high school, and we went to separate schools and did different things. We both wound up here in New York at a certain point, and I think we both thought about other careers and like different things. I think originally, music was not a career choice. It was just an obsession, compulsion things.
Still isn't.
Yeah, not a career choice. That's right.
Is there any main reason you decided to go from a two-person band to a whole more than two people?
I don't even know if this is in the movie. It was sort of more specific and immediate. Basically, when we were promoting Flood, we toured the world for 12 months straight, which was very you don't come out the same way on the other end of that kind of life experience. So we were pretty exhausted, and we had always worked very actively on our show, even while we were on tour. Even though we were working with the drum machine, we would rearrange the show and modify things, every day with the taped accompaniment that we worked with. But after a year of being on the road and literally doing 6 shows a week for, I think we did, almost 200 shows that year, 175 shows or something, crazy number of shows. We were very sort of exhausted from that, and even though we were very well rehearsed by the end of it, and it just seemed like we wanted to experiment with how we would put together the next thing, so we just thought about bringing in side people to sort of do guest spots, and that seemed almost more fussy than just putting together a little combo of musicians that would play with us. And so we were about to go out in 1992 and kind of do the same thing, and it just seemed like an invitation to kind of experiment with the format, and it worked out to be very successful. It was very different. It really changed the I think the movie plays up the change maybe more than it really was felt. To be perfectly honest, a lot of people, I think the general audience, the last row rather than the first row in the crowd, was very interested in the celebratory aspect of the live band. I mean, it just had an energy and a craziness and a sonic power and that people really did like. I mean, people were just dancing much more. It became less and less about, kind of the Smothers Brothers aspect of me and John interacting on stage. We talked a lot.
You understand that reference, I'm sure.
Yeah. But it was sort of less chat. I mean, I think the thing that it kind of got lost was it's hard to be really chatty in a casual way when there's 8 guys on stage waiting to play the next song. I mean, it definitely steps on our I mean, there are literally people just